Hello and welcome. My name is Steve Pugh. It's Monday, the 28th of February. I do something called a Growth Strategy podcast where I try and introduce you to really interesting people from around the world who I believe have knowledge, advice, experience, stuff that can help real people in their kind of business or career. I say every week it's great to see people like Stephen Bartlett and Elon Musk and stuff kind of in the news and doing the interviews and stuff. But actually, for me, I like to speak to real people and to get into their journey and almost, their story, how they got started, what they were like at school, that kind of thing. So my guest today, Chloe, is someone that I've wanted on for a while, really cool person. We've got so much stuff to talk about. Rather than me kind of introduce it and then we'll do it again, I'm going to bring Chloe in. We're going to have a really kind of good conversation for the next 30 or 40 minutes. But if you want to get involved, drop a comment in the chat on any of the platforms. It should pop up on my screen. And then if we can, we'll ask as well. So Chloe, I'm just going to bring you in. There we go. Everyone can now see you and hear you, hopefully.
So don't swear. Is that what you're saying?
You can swear. It might take me off YouTube. But
Hey, how you doing?
how was were you in London last week? I saw on your socials.
Yeah, I was. It was really nice. It was really, really nice because I've been there so much for business, but it was the first time I went as a fully fledged tourist. So yeah,
Nice.
it was really nice.
It's with I still haven't been away properly since the pandemic started. We've got a trip to America planned for June, but it's almost, I was jealous. I thought, seeing people go and do stuff, I think now I treat it as like a luxury, but
Yeah.
actually we haven't had it for so long. So I'm always jealous. And how was your weekend? Did you have any time off?
This weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, this weekend. Yeah, this weekend was good actually. Getting back into fitness, which has been a little bit of a challenge. But I'm starting to get into the swings. I actually spent like 2 days in the gym over the weekend,
Nice.
which was really good. And we've started taking one day off where we just used to work 24/7, Lou and I. So yeah, one day off and then the rest is in the office. So yeah, it was good though. I had a really good weekend. How was your weekend? More importantly.
I was writing an investor pitch, which is really silly. I'm still not at the point. So Wonder have been going for 4 years. Is that right?
Yeah, well, this is our fourth year, so we'll be far in just at the end of summer. Yeah.
Because with the roadmap, it's only been live for a year, so I'm still on that hamster wheel of just make it work, make it work, make it work, make it work. But I envy and both appreciate people that do get to the point of taking time off, and I'm getting better. But it was just, but that's the kind of thing that most people never talk about. That you see a lot of stuff about hustle culture and work 24/7, but the truth is you can kind of sustain it for a while. And then it does catch up with you. So it's very cool to see you take some time off. So would you be happy to give like a 30-second intro, just who you are, what you do and where you're from?
Absolutely. Yes. I'm Chloë Clover. So I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Wonder Films. So we essentially create really cool content for brands and then help them push that out over socials as well. And things have moved really, really fast for us. So we're in quite an exciting space. We've got a lot of huge plans coming up as well. But yeah, so that's me, myself and my business partner, Lou, set up Wonder, and it's been an exciting journey.
It's because what's quite funny is that I started working on Teesside about 10, 12 years ago. And often it's the same faces and, your Bill Scotts and your Sharon Lanes and all the really lovely, great people. And I just remember about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you popped on the scene and it was this kind of thing of like, who, inherently on socials, you're like, who's this? And you start to pay attention. And then what's interesting is that a lot of people come in and fade away. And then actually we hadn't really spoken until about 6 months ago, maybe. And it was just, I knew with the podcast, I had to almost get to a point where I haven't invited, I wanted to wait until it was good before I invited good people on, because that's inherently kind of what I'm like. But it was just, so it's a pleasure to kind of speak to you. And almost,
Well, that's class. Thank you.
But
I saw you on socials too, just so you know.
But it's one of those funny things is that when you see people's stuff, you can't interact with everything, but it doesn't mean you don't see it. And this is one of the things that, used to not annoy me, but where, you've got a massive following on socials, but you'll know certain people will see your stuff, but they won't like it. But it doesn't mean that they don't see it or that they don't appreciate it. They just generally don't like stuff. but
Yes.
such a huge tool for growing audience. And
You give away, like, I think people are really have become really precious with liking and commenting and things, because
Mhm.
it's time, and time has suddenly become almost like a currency to us now, even online. Like, that's why videos and stuff have to be really short, and graphics, it has to be like instant. You don't have time to spend on things anymore, and you're getting saturated all of the time. So with liking and commenting and stuff, you're essentially asking someone to spend a little bit of time on you. So you have to break that barrier and make them want to give you that little bit of time, even though it's like a tiny milliseconds. But yeah, and it's almost like committing themselves to something, isn't it? So yeah, but it's nice that people see it, and you start to build like that community of people that really do engage and interact, and that's really nice as well.
By the way, I need to say this just as a fellow techie. Your hair light is fire at the moment. The way it's coming off the back of your head, as someone that goes into the same depth that nobody appreciates, it's the best set. You have the best setup of anyone I've ever interviewed. Just it's ace. But most people don't get cameras and light. Of course you do, but you know what I mean? It's just, but there's a real talent that when you see good stuff, it's like, it's ace. I love it. One of the things,
likewise, by the way,
yeah.
that neon sign is fire. So yeah.
Biggest mistake. So basically I ordered it and it was from a company called Custom Neons. And I knew I wanted it for YouTube and stuff. I didn't think how heavy it'd be. So it weighs almost 30 kilograms and it's 2 meters tall. And we actually had to go into the ceiling to like properly attach it. And it turned out to be the biggest pig I've ever, like, it's great now it's up. But if I ever move office, fuck me. It just, honestly, it was a nightmare.
It looks brilliant though. It looks really good.
You've got to do it for the gram. Right? I think so. But one of the things is, and actually, brands, Wanda has a really good, strong, distinctive brand. But when you're trying to build something that when people give you that half a second's attention when they're scrolling through, you need to create stuff like a stupid neon sign and your graphics and be distinctive to stand out, just so it's that brand recognition. And I just know your view on that, because obviously I think a lot of people do fade into the background. There's a lot of sameness that almost it's difficult to stand out.
It really, yeah, it is. It's a saturated market. Like it really is, because brands know that they need to be on social now. And it was a little bit easier a few years ago when people really didn't really know. So you were really innovative if social was part of your marketing strategy, but that's not the case anymore. Everybody's on there. So yeah, it takes a little bit of something to do something really special. You're right in what you're saying. I totally agree that brand recognition is everything, and we've worked really hard on that, even down to tone of voice, the way that we write our copy.
I've noticed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very unique to us, and the way that we create content, create videos. We have our own stamp on creating video content. That it's really interesting that now people are starting to emulate that as well, which is really cool. It's really cool to see that other people do that. So yeah, it's you have to be unique, and it has to represent your brand, personal brand, business brand, whatever that is. But being different, it's a real fine line.
It's when, as long as you're authentically you, it's like, I know, there's going to be some people that hate me, but then they're just not my target customer. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
I think what you get sometimes is that when people who are a bit vanilla want to be outrageous, and it's like, yeah, but that's not authentic. And part of the reason why, when we spoke before we came on air, that I love about podcasts is that you get to get a vibe off people, and you get tone of voice, and you see what they feel like and they sound like, and you hear about the weekends and you're into the fitness, but you get to learn stuff about them that actually over time they'll like you more, because, oh yeah, I see your thing. And then you might bump into someone next week and say, oh, how's the fitness going? But you get a much greater form of content and stuff than if it was just images, for instance, where you're not really getting your stuff across.
You do, and you feel when you feel when it's not authentic. You feel when it's not the real them. Like you can tell your audience isn't stupid. Do you know what I mean? Like you feel like because you're behind a screen, maybe that you can put anything out there, but really it's still you. It's still you in a conversation between you and somebody else. It's just happening through a digital platform, but it's still a conversation, and it's still important to be authentic. And if quotes and inspiration and stuff, if that is part of your message, and you really feel passionate about that, then that'll come through and that'll work for you. But if you're just doing it because you've seen somebody else do it, then it won't work. Like, it just won't work.
You know who else is slaying it at the moment? I think he's a client of yours, Lee Flanagan.
He's a good guy.
But it's the fact that again, I discovered him on socials, and I know he does little bricks and stuff. But and I tell you what, his consistency is insane. So I do this most Mondays. I do my Friday thing and I clip it all up and go to, but I do 2 main things a week. Sure. I swear he does 10 things every day, boof, boof, video, but it's him. And then some people will love it. And so, but it's the reason why his following and profile will grow mega quick is because he's doing it. Does that make sense? As well, a lot of people they do one post once and hope it'll catch.
Yes. You have to be committed, and you have to have consistency. They're Bespoke and Lee as a personal brand are both clients of ours, and it's definitely something that we've worked really hard at. We've worked really hard at building that social confidence, and it's amazing to see. It really is amazing to see. But the mindset is not, I need to post this many times a day. The mindset is these things are happening in my life and I want to share them with people, and that it's so different.
Yeah, cool. So on the podcast, I love to share people's journey, partly because I love learning and meeting different people, but likewise that when I was at school, I went and did engineering, but I didn't really know what it was. And then my uncle had a business, but I didn't really know anything about business. But the point is, what I love to do is almost go back into people's journey from school and stuff, because actually there might be people in Middlesbrough now or Ghana or Ukraine or wherever that kind of is interested in getting into film, say, and they see this and they resonate with you, and it's almost real people's journeys that actually, so what were you like at school?
Oh dear. This is a really good question. I actually dropped out of school when I was 15. Okay. So yeah, my school journey was really different to other people's, to what would be the stereotypical journey. I had a bit of a rough ride, lots of ups, lots of downs, but ultimately it just didn't work for me. Like being being confined, and it was all driven around tests and exams, and being told what to do, which I've never really enjoyed, and it didn't work. I tried it again actually, because I was always a little bit weird as well. I was always alternative and opinionated and all of those things. But so I actually dropped out at 15. But I was quite good at school, which is the weird bit. So I still sat my exams, even though I wasn't attending anymore. And I got good grades, so I could go straight into the Northern School of Art, and I did fine art. I dropped out. It's the same thing. It just didn't, that structure, it just didn't work for me. And then,
but for instance, for anyone who's 14, 15, 16 now that isn't feeling school, what I was told was if you don't go to uni, you're not going to amount to shit, and almost your life's over. So everything was, you were shitting yourself about your GCSEs, your A-levels, you're panicking, the pressure. It was just, but the point is, when it's fair to say you've done quite well.
Thank you.
But actually, so if someone who watches this that might be in that current space, I imagine it wasn't, it's easy to look back and say, oh yeah, I'm doing really well now. But I imagine there was certain points when it was, you didn't know what was going to happen next, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know what, I always knew that I was going to do something. I wanted to do something big. I knew that I wanted to do that. I never knew what it was, and I knew that I was really creative, but I didn't know how to apply that to my life, I suppose. And so I guess there's so many routes to your end life, and it's just about finding the one that gets you where you want to be, in a way that you enjoy. I think, and there's so many different ways to enjoy life. Like you don't have to have a business. Like you don't have to. It's just about what you want out of life, and finding the right way to get that. And yeah, I was floating around for a little bit, not really understanding what it was that I was going to do and what I wanted to do, but eventually I got to a space where I just realized that I wasn't very happy. Like I said, dropped out of school, dropped out of college, and got a regular job, and I just was in a place in my life, and I was like, what am I doing? You get one try, one go, and I'm wasting it. And that was the moment that everything changed. And Lou and myself bought a one-way ticket to the other side of the planet and started Wonder Films. So yeah.
Because I've read the article in Northeast Times. It was about you, and I was going to segue onto the travel thing. So you're good at this. It's really But so would you like to tell people almost how you came up with the business, where the name comes from, and how you almost got started?
Yeah, of course. Like so Wonder Films came from wandering, right? Wanderlust. Lou and I bought that one-way ticket. We sold everything we owned. We worked, about 3-4 jobs each to save up to go and figure our lives out. So we did that, and it was while we were in Australia that we worked on some TV stuff in Sydney, and that was like Lou had studied television and film, and I'd always been in the creative. I did photography, I did some filmmaking as well, and I was always I was into painting and fine art and stuff like that. So it just worked. I was assistant director, and Lou worked on sound, and it was an amazing experience. And that was the moment we're like, right, buy a cheap ass camera and a cheap ass laptop, and let's just go and do this. So we did. We started traveling around all through Australia and Southeast Asia, and approaching businesses to create like really good content for them, and sometimes we would just do like a service swap, and when we started to get paid for it, and that was really cool. And then we managed to save up quite a good chunk from doing that, and we got to the point where we were like, we could do this forever. Like it's amazing. Like what a life. But it's not like we really wanted to grow it. We really wanted to do something like really special. We wanted to see how far we could take this thing. So we came back home at Teesside and ploughed everything into growing Wonder. So yeah, which was scary.
It's a class story though, because it's that balance of like the bravery to. I've traveled a lot, but it was always been on like fixed trips. The whole idea of just like a one-way ticket. I remember at uni, I was like, I'd love to do that. And it's just, but I really admire that. And it's almost the spirit that, fuck it, I'm going to try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, you've got nothing to lose. And then when you came back, I guess how did you get started? I guess, was it you and Lou to, start knocking on doors and talking to people? And
yeah, absolutely. So we moved in with my mum. So we moved back into my home and worked from there. It was really tough at first, because it wasn't as if we'd been in the world of agency while we'd been here. We didn't have any contacts in the business Teesside, and whatever region you're in, there's business cliques, and we weren't part of that. We had nothing to do with any of it. So that was it was tough, but we just we knew that we had something really special, and we knew that we really wanted to do something. So we started reaching out to anyone that would listen to us, and anyone that would meet us for coffees and all of that stuff. And yeah, we were actually really fortunate. We did get a break when we there's a something called Launchpad in Teesside, and it helps startups, and they were mad helpful for us. Like really early on, we got a space in their office building, and that sort of introduced us to other startups around that were doing the similar thing to us, and it was so that break helped us a lot.
Do you ever miss the kind of hustle side to it? You know, the kind of like, you think, oh fuck, our money runs out in 2 months, we have to make this work, otherwise we're in trouble. Do you ever
It's
miss
weird.
that?
I was thinking about that earlier, actually. Yeah, I was actually thinking about that earlier. I was thinking how different it is, now, when leads are coming in and stuff like that. And, when our team is now 15, 16. So it's like, I was just sat here and I was like, oh my God, like, it's just there isn't like a chase. Like, there used to be a chase, like you're saying, like a hustle. And it's your mindset changes to the bigger things that you're looking at, and less of like you need these in to sort of pay the bills, and it's so different, but it's nice. It's nice not having that pressure's nice, but there's bigger pressures now. So yeah.
Because one of the questions I was going to ask you about is that I think because we're both obviously into photography and video, but I think people think that you need mega expensive kit to make good stuff, and I don't know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Well, I mean, if you look, the generations coming through are all content creators now, right? So you can see what you can do on a phone. So if you can do that on a phone, do you need really expensive kit? No, but it depends on the content that you're creating. If you're going to create for TV or streaming platforms and stuff like that, well, then yes, you do. So you've got to think of your audience and your platform, and then have a look at how relevant it is. But I would say that it's always good to get as good as you can afford.
I always find it funny that have you ever had anyone like send you show reels and stuff that you've just seen it from scratch and that you just blown your socks off kind of thing? Because that talent, I love it. One of the things that I love about marketing and creative stuff is that you can't fake it. So if someone's crap, you can look at their stuff and you can see it's not very good. And I love seeing people, and part of the reason I reached out was when you see people and you're like, that's really good. And I love that kind of element to what you do and what people do.
Yeah, totally. And likewise, like your content is I like that next level of content, and it's really nice to see that. What's really nice as well is having someone send us some stuff, and it's not perfect, but there's something in it, and you can see that there's
the magic.
There's that little bit of spark, and you're like, oh, like that is they've got something, and then watching that grow as well is just like nothing beats that feeling. It's so nice.
So Wonder's been going for 4 years or so now.
Yes.
What is it for you that you think makes you special kind of in the market?
What a question. I think, do you know what we've just been talking about really, but probably the culture and authenticity of us and what we do. Like, we're unapologetically ourselves, and we put a little bit of ourselves in everything that we do, and I think that has people really like that. They've really liked that we're a little bit weird, and that we do things in a very us way. And I think that's the things we think about the world a little bit differently. And we've got a really, really special team. Like, our team is unbelievably talented, and that counts for a lot, I think.
So I was going to say, it's really funny that does it feel a bit weird to see your face on magazines? And I was seeing your socials a little bit, because let's face it, at a certain point you dropped out of school. You came back with I want to start something up, and I don't really fit into the Teesside clique. Then suddenly you're the poster girl of that kind of. Does that ever feel weird?
Yeah, it does feel really weird. It does feel really, really weird. I think it's because even I wouldn't have expected that to have happened, if that makes sense. Like, I'm so different. We're so different. Like, you just, if you, even at the Tees Businesswoman Awards, for example, if you look at the previous super inspirational, like incredible women that have had that title, and then you put me in there, it just doesn't look like, it just doesn't work. So yeah, it's strange. I don't think you'll ever get used to seeing yourself on the front of a magazine, that's for sure.
Yeah,
but it's amazing.
Like, that's a goal for me. I'm, you know, you're tiers above where I am, but I think you need to have the ambition to do it. But I can also imagine it's a bit weird. It's in a nice way, but like, it's just, do you ever get stopped where, you know, people in business events know who you are? I guess it's that brand awareness of just,
It's really, it's really nice. It's like, it's an amazing feeling, because I think often people feel like they already know us. So because we're so out there and they follow us and they followed our journey for quite a while, that sometimes people might not don't realize that we actually haven't met. But it's again, like how, like, I couldn't, like, how I can't express how grateful I am to have that happen. Like, that's really, really special.
But the thing is, for both of us, it's almost where it didn't happen by accident. It happened because years of hard work to go out and create stuff and put it out there, and then keep doing it when nobody else is watching. So for instance, on YouTube, I'm approaching 800 videos. And it's that hustle that someone someday will be like, oh yeah, he just got lucky, overnight success. It's like, no, I've been doing this for 10 years. And it's the same with you. It's that balance of where it's going out there, being yourself, and then just keep going.
Consistency. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, it's the people that do it when there's no reward for doing it that really make something. Like,
you've got to love it.
You do. You've got to love it, because sometimes it's hard, and sometimes you know, when you're so open and you're so online, and you're very vulnerable, you're in a very vulnerable place, and you're putting yourself out there, and there's reasons that you're doing that, and they're all good things, but sometimes that can attract some negative things as well. And so it's something that you've got to really be passionate about doing.
Can I ask you about schools? I know you do a lot of talks in schools to inspire kind of young people and stuff. Why is that kind of important to you?
Probably because I found that route so difficult, and I think that it just feels like I was lost for a really long time, and I want to help that generation and help those students and young people, help them see that there is something else out there, and they don't have to be perfect right then, and they can make mistakes, but it doesn't what you do in that life, in that moment, doesn't define your future. And I think that's really important. And when I was that age, there wasn't anyone that I could see that was like me. You know, there was, and I think having visibility to someone that looks like you and sounds like you and has been through similar things to you, I think that's really important.
I interviewed Doug Dimwitty, who I know you know from my digital 2 weeks ago, I think. And when he was sharing his story, and actually before him, there's been a few people, often people that have had elements of challenge in their life, often go into entrepreneurship because you know what it's like to not have it, and you know how the hustle is. But actually it's that balance of where at some point the school system wasn't working for you, but I never had that growing up, you know, the kind of role models or the foresight on different stuff. So I think it is kind of super important.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot changing now. There's a lot more inclusivity in society in that generation. I think, you know, gender fluidity, and you really accepted with who you want to be. But it's still not easy. It's still challenging. There's additional challenges that come with that, and just because you can be who you want to be, it doesn't mean it's easy to do that. And obviously, all of the pressures of social now, it was just coming in when I was going through school, and I can't. Can you imagine what it's like to be in school now with there's no escape because of social media. There is no escape for that generation. So I can just imagine how hard that can be for some people sometimes.
Yeah, I get it's. I'm 38 now, so I'm old as anything. But it's just I'm with you that I remember the first time I ever discovered the internet. This was in 1996, and it blew my mind. But it was just the idea of now. So say if you were getting bullied at school in the 90s when I was at school, you go home, you're probably okay. Now with phones and there could be fake accounts, it'd be awful. And it's that balance.
It just wouldn't end. Yeah, there's no escape from that. None. And it must be really, really difficult. And not even like just a bullying aspect, which must be horrific to live through that now. But then there's also the aspirational aspect of it. Like everyone's so perfect online. It's not real anymore. There's not. You can't see real people that look real. Like it's all perfect and polished, and you see what people want you to see. And having to live up to those standards must be really difficult to get your head around at that age.
Before we came on, me and Chloe were talking about how it is different doing stuff live as we're pre-recorded, but for that very reason, I like the authenticity, because if I fumble my words, you see, or it's not, but I think it's more trustworthy than we've probably both made videos where you can do like 20 takes and you try and pick the best one. But for me, after you've done like 10, you're dead behind the eyes. You're not passionate in what you're saying. So almost the fact that you have to do it perfectly, not perfectly, but do it well once. For me, it's just better. I just kind of prefer that. Can I ask you about the Forbes thing?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So this was super impressive, because what I always find funny is that you have a Northeast business community and certain people pop out and they have awards and you kind of expect to want to, but when I saw this is quite a big deal. So you were listed in the Forbes 30 under 30 for 2021. How did that feel?
Yeah. So, it's still bizarre. Well, I don't know, because I don't want to. It's hard because you don't want to say like unbelievable, even because that. I don't know, like you shouldn't say that. You should feel really confident and brave and bold to be able to say like, oh yeah, like it feels mint, and it does feel mint, but sometimes it's like it's hard to get your head around and think like that's nuts. It's one of those things that like that you would talk about always wanting, but very few people would actually get. Like it's crazy. So it blew my mind.
Do you ever,
I guess there's a short way of saying that.
What, when you set up, what was the dream?
Yeah, so when we were writing goals on the beach just before we came back, and
do you still have them, or were they on your phone?
We still have them. Yeah, we do.
That's
I know. Yeah. So and getting on the Forbes 30 under 30 was on that list, which is mad. So was a TED Talk. So I almost did that last year. I did the Bright Ideas Gathering, which was same people, but yeah. So it's crazy, right? It's crazy.
Because what's the dream now? 10 years. In 10 years' time, where would you dream of being?
We're on the cusp. I can't talk about it too much at the minute, but we're on the cusp of another one of those dreams coming to fruition. And as soon as it does, I will.
I'll see it on socials. But I don't know about you, but it's almost where I have ambitions about what I want to do, and I don't tell anyone, because if I told them, they'd be like, "Steve, you're a nut job, or you're an arrogant prick." But I know where I want to be, and I'm working really, really hard in a good, honest way that I want to give value,
Mhm.
but actually I still want to be there. But I'm scared.
Like, of course you do.
But it's that kind of, you've got to set those goals, because you're never going to hit, what's the Michael Jordan thing? You miss every shot you don't take. So if you don't aim for that, you're never going to get there. So it's almost, but it's like, you feel bad even telling people. So I don't even tell my wife what my goals are. I just, how was work? Yeah, good. And but to see you tick off stuff that you originally set as a goal is pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's why it's important probably to have peers of your level in your mindset around you, so that you don't feel like you've got like a mad ego for saying that you want to do this thing, or you want to be on there, or you want your business to be turning over like 5 million in 5 years, or whatever it is. Like, it's, you have to have ambition. You have to have like those big ass goals that you want to achieve, because you have to visualize that you're going to actually get to the place that you want to be. Other people can have that, right? If someone else can have that shit, why can't you? Cause you can. You just need to go out and get it and focus on it and drive for it. I did a talk or a post last week actually, and I think I said that. I was like, it's not ego, it's business. Like, and those things need to, there's bad connotations around ego, right? But you have to have that, because that's you getting out of life the things that you want. And why else are you here? Obviously to help other people as well. But it's, having ambition is never something that you should apologize for.
Cool. I like this. This is my favorite interview, by the way, and I've done 90. This is cool.
Thank you.
So I have a section which is near the end where I've used kind of set questions, and these get clipped up. They all get clipped up and goes onto YouTube, but it's got its own kind of section. Are you happy to share what's the best piece of advice you've ever had?
Yes. This is an interesting one. I'm probably supposed to be fast on these fast questions, but
that's right. We edit it. It's fine.
The best piece of advice that I ever had was when I was told that I needed to wear a business dress and speak more appropriately if I was ever going to be taken seriously. And it was the best piece of advice that I ever had, because I was like, that made it very, very clear to me that that was not what I was going to do. And I knew in that moment that people either get you or they don't. And if they don't, then move on. And we did.
Can I share something? When I was 17, 18, I was meant to be going to uni. And basically I was groomed to go into construction, which I did do. But I kind of grew up in Liverpool, and I used to have a really strong Scouse accent. And it was my uncle actually said to me, look, Steve, you're good at what you do, but you need to lose the accent, because nobody will ever take you seriously if you sound the way you sound. And what was really funny is that when I went to uni, I was around loads of posh, rich kids that I felt really out of depth anyway.
Yeah.
But over the course of like 4 years, I think I did do it on purpose. I was trying to just change the way my voice sounds. And what was quite funny was, it was only when, fast forward 10, 12 years until I'd achieved a lot of the stuff that I wanted to, I realized actually I didn't need to do that. But it was almost where the advice I was given was, if you have a northern accent, nobody's going to take you seriously, which is wrong. And I think so I was just resonating when someone said to you, you need to be a certain way, that actually now I've relaxed into it a lot more, purely because when you're working with a business and a team full of people, it's great to be able to work with the CEO, but actually the guys on the shop floor you can relate to in a way that if you were super posh, you can't. Does that make sense? So actually your background and roots give you like a superpower that other people don't have. But I got similar advice. So I love that you told them to fuck off, and it was just be yourself. Which is
because and again, it's like, it sounds like, I think this interview should be called authenticity, by the way, because that's what it is. Like, it's like, you can, if you're trying to hide a part of yourself, then how can you ever be fully yourself, right? And as you say, like, you being you is your biggest superpower. It's the one thing that you have that nobody else has. Like, you are you, and nobody else will ever have that. So that's your thing. That's your driver. So yeah, screw them. I mean, sorry, that's your uncle, but
I said the same. And so actually just fast forward a bit is that so I went through uni, graduated, I was working overseas in construction in Jamaica. It was a really good job that everyone thought I was amazing at. And I hated it. My soul wasn't there. And there was a certain point, luckily there was a 2008 global recession, but anyway, but I said, look, I'm quitting, I'm going back to England. And it was that I did confront my uncle and say, look, it's not for me. But it took that difficulty to kind of be myself. And it's, you know, when everyone's expecting you and trying to make you, it's a bit like, have you seen Encanto? Rose?
Yeah, I need to though, right?
You should watch it. There's a girl who makes flowers and everyone expects it to be perfect all the time. And not to ruin it, but there's a certain point in the film where she's like, I just want to be myself. But I think sometimes you need to go through that. So I went through that at 24, and actually that kind of set me on the path that I think I should have been on. But it, you know, confronting the people that put you in a box and actually saying, look, I don't want to do that. I think it's quite cool. The other question is that if you were to give advice to your younger self, and you could pick you at school, you traveling, you last week, whatever you want, what would it be?
I think trust your gut. Trust your gut. I think there's been many times in my life where things haven't gone quite right, and I knew that it wasn't going to go right. Like if I really think about it, I really knew, and I think that most of us do. We know when something, you say it in hindsight, right? In hindsight, I should have known that, but I think at the time you probably did, and you did it anyway. So I think one of the it's really brave. One of the bravest things that you can do is to really trust your gut and go with yourself. That's when you can do that. That's really, really powerful.
Nice. Is there anything you would like to talk about or plug before we go?
Oh, it's a good question. Why don't you come on our podcast?
I would love to, although I'm not at the caliber of Dean Benson or the other guys. So it's, you know, I know how the hierarchy works, but I'd be delighted to. But no, I'd love to. Because again, one of the things that I try and do for this is that it's just, on the course, on the roadmap, I have something called lead actions, which is basically, I know if I'm aiming there's certain things that I need to do to get to that point. And one of them is invite people onto my podcast, but actually if you can get onto new audiences and just be honest with different people. So I would love to, if you'd have me, but you can retract that offer. I won't judge you.
I would love you to come on. We've got the Beat the Scroll podcast, and it's all about content creation. And I would be honored if you would come on. That would be really cool.
No, cool. Would you like to plug any of your socials or anything before we finish?
I mean, of course, like it's always amazing to connect with people. So if anyone does want to connect and wants to reach out, then you can find me, Chloë Clover, on LinkedIn. You can follow Wonder Films on all of the social platforms. That's really cool as well. But genuinely, it's just really nice to meet new people and hear new stories. So that'd be cool.
Well, thank you for your time today. I've really enjoyed it. Honestly, I've done like 90 interviews. This is my favorite. And
do you know that's really bold though, right? But do you say that's for everybody?
No. Well, let's face it, if I did, they'd see it.
Yeah. But this has been mine as well. This was really, really cool.
No, cool. Well, I appreciate your time. I know how busy you are and stuff. And honestly, you know, it'll be a pleasure just from afar to see your success and stuff over the next few years. And then one day in 10 years' time, we'll both be on the TEDx stage in California, the big one, the proper one.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, do you remember when time? And that's the beauty for me about YouTube, is that there's videos on there that I literally made like 15 years ago, and I love looking back to look how bad they are. And even when the pandemic hit, when I learned to stream in my spare bedroom with pandemic hair, and the quality's terrible, but I kind of love, because you see the progress. And then, you know, just seeing where Wonder Films is going to be in 2 years time or 5 years time or 10 years time is quite exciting. Cool. Well, thank you for your time. Stay in touch, and I will speak to you soon.
Cheers, Steve.
No worries. Cheers. Bye-bye.